Welcome to a special episode of String Band Sessions podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about how the string bands are judged. And who better to be our guest than the chairman of the String Band Association's judging committee, Lou Speziale. Lou, thanks so much.
Hey, Jim.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about Lou before we talk about the judging. So tell us a little bit, where did you grow up? How did you get involved with the Mummers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm second generation string band junkie, I guess, per se. My dad, Bill Speziale Sr., was captain of Ferko String Band, presentation director of Ferko String Band for 30-something years. And I got started, a quick story is, it was a cold November day. I was out playing roller hockey. 1981, my dad and Tom King were sitting in my living room, my dad's living room at 29th and Snyder in South Philly. And I was playing roller hockey. I came in, I had to go to the bathroom. I roller skated into the house, went upstairs, went to the bathroom. And on the way down, Dad said to me, he says, what's your thoughts on performing New Year's Day for us, 1982? And I was like, yeah, no problem, Dad. I got you. And I went on and played roller hockey. And it was that night at dinner that I kind of realized what I agreed to. And from there, I was the newspaper boy in 1982 for the first prize Bowery routine. And I spent 36 years with Ferko, retiring in 2018. So Ferko String Band is the only band I've known my entire life.
And was your brother part of this as well?
So yeah, it was truly a family affair. My brother was involved, my Uncle John, my Aunt Lorraine, my Aunt Lucille were choreographers. So they were involved also in some capacity. My last year, 2018, my daughter Samantha was the Tinkerbell in our Neverland theme.
Yes, I absolutely remember that. So what, did you play an instrument in the band?
So I played saxophone, but I was more known on New Year's Day for a featured performer.
For performing as part of the production.
Yeah, I think of those 36 years that I marked, I played probably once on New Year's Day.
And you mentioned all the different members of your family. Obviously, your dad was an iconic captain, in the string band division. And just a little piece of trivia. So your dad was actually the bell player in Hageman String Band.
That's correct.
And for a very brief period after he left doing that, there was another guy, I can't remember his name, but then pretty quickly after that, I came into it, and I had not met your dad before. I admired him and I respected him, and I was nervous to introduce myself, to meet him. And so after my first New Year's Day, and then at the Show of Shows, I went up to him and I was so nervous, what am I going to say? And I said, I'm Jim Donio. I'm the new you in Hageman String Band. And of course, your dad was, most wonderful, gracious,
thank you,
welcoming person. And then there's your aunt, Lorraine.
Aunt Lorraine.
Lorraine was a very flamboyant, powerful choreographer of just great esteem, obviously, but with such a reputation, because she knew how to just pick everybody up and create this magic.
Absolutely.
And she and your dad did work together, and I guess
numerous
with you
times.
as well.
Yeah,
with you as well.
The 2 years that I was drill director, she was my choreographer one of the 2 years. But she worked, exclusively with Dad throughout the Ferko, his years as drill director at Ferko, but then also worked with some brigades when Dad was, doing design work for the brigades and other string bands. So she had, she had very good reputation as an accomplished choreographer. She was very instrumental in the years of '90 with our success through the '90s, and she was very important to the band.
Yeah. I would say it's fair to say probably she was an outspoken.
That's
she was,
putting it very politely and
she
very
was an
nice.
outspoken part of these productions.
Yes.
She was not shy about expressing her thoughts or her opinions. And I think because of that and because of her like adherence to, getting as close to perfection as anybody can get, she was tough.
Oh, absolutely.
She was a taskmaster, but she really, helped a lot of these groups achieve, great success. So
It's true. She even up the street on New Year's Day with making adjustments to spacing and the routines. She was very instrumental in absolutely putting the show on. Dad, as drill director and or presentation director and captain, on New Year's Day he stepped back as presentation director and allowed his drill director, the leader of the band at that point, to run the parade with Lorraine, my Aunt Lorraine, and such. So I was honored to be in front numerous years working with my dad on New Year's Day, and I cherish every moment of that, and
Yeah.
I miss him dearly.
They're great memories, and they were both iconic in their respective disciplines. They were both iconic. So let's make a transition. How do we go from doing that, being part of Ferko for all those years? So who roped you in to this whole judging thing? Because it's an interesting role to play, and that's part of why we wanted to do this special episode, is to help our viewers understand that the string band judging has evolved over the years. How has it evolved? And how did you get involved with this aspect of the parade?
So Sam Regalbuto and I go way back to the '90s, late '80s and '90s. We're very close friends,
And we should say Sam is the president of the Philadelphia Mummers String Band Association.
Correct. Yes. So Sam and I go way back, running softball leagues together. We spent a lot of time together and had a mutual respect for each other. So 2018 was my last year with Ferko. I retired. I got sick the September of 2018. I had a heart attack, heart failure, and was lucky to be alive. So I had an opportunity to go back with Ferko on 2019, but I have this fear of, putting a costume on and just not making it. And I just can't do that to my family. So 2018, 2019, 2020, I just supported the association, became part of the association on New Year's Day. I became the center point in front of the judges. Denny Quayle used to do it with the orange shirt, orange jacket, orange hat.
Right.
Denny retired, and John Pignotti got me involved and asked me to take on that role. So I was involved with the association through, with the parade, running the parade. And I think I was in St. Louis with a group of Ferko family that we became family members. We do a Phillies tour every year. So that year we had to pick St. Louis. We were in St. Louis, and I get a text message from Sam saying, "Hey, call me when you get a chance. We need to talk." And again, the mutual respect that I have for Sam, and my response was, "Whatever you need, I'm on board." And he wrote back, "We need to talk before you accept this."
Okay.
So Sam and I talked that night for a little bit, and I was blown away by the offer to assume the responsibility as chairman of the judging committee. My predecessors were Tom Ferry, of which I grew up with in Ferko String Band. Tom,
Another icon.
absolutely. And Tom, through the years, rolling back to Ferko, when I joined Ferko, I was 14 years old, and Dad was doing his captain's thing and doing his presentation director thing, and you know, not that he didn't have time for me, but his focus was on Ferko. You know, when we were on street, he was Ferko. So I had what I call a lot of pseudo fathers. You know, I had a lot of members that looked out for me, raised me, and taught me what it was like to be a mummer, taught me what it was like to be Ferko. Tom Ferry was one of them, absolutely one of them. Then Jack Daly, when Tom passed away, Jack Daly took over. And unfortunately, Jack Daly passed away, and the spot was vacant for, I guess, a year or two. John Kane was temporary interim, and Sam, the way the story was told to me was Sam was in a discussion with Dan Spencer, another close friend of mine, and Sam said, I need to replace John. Who can we bring in? And Dan suggested bringing me in as the coordinator of the judges. With my background in, designing shows and everything that goes into the performances, they felt it was a great match for, taking it on from Jack Daly and Tom Ferry. So I was blown away. I was humbled by the offer, and honestly, I didn't think twice about it. I said, absolutely, I'm on board. Let's do this. And since 2023 was my first year running the parade, and this will be my fourth year as chair.
So did you, in these 4 years, have you ever had any be careful what I wish for moments?
January 1 of 2025 was probably the most interesting year. We had the unfortunate events of 2 disqualifications, and then
the news comes down.
And then the news comes out, and we could talk about that. I guess we'll talk about it as we go along. But the news, I'm tasked with announcing that we have a tie for first place. So yes, that night, it was one of those nights where I said, what did I get myself into? But
we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. But let's rewind a little bit. So the historic judging of string bands that maybe, people who are fans, people have followed this for a long time, have some sensibility that, okay, there's music, there's costume, and there's your performance. And for decades and decades, that was the judging. It was 40 points for your music, 40 points for your costume, and 20 points for your presentation, without any subsets or any other subcategories. It was 40, 40, 20. When do you remember? Do you know when did that end, and when did we move into this new criteria that you're going to talk about?
So the breakdown is kind of similar. 40 points for music, 40 points for presentation, 20 for captain. The way
for presentation.
For costume. I'm sorry, for costume. So, and then captain is a separate category.
Yes.
Captain was broken out as a separate set of judges. So what we have now is we have 4 different categories. We have music playing, music general effect, visual performance, and general effect performance. So of those 4 categories, each one has various breakdowns of points. So for music...
So let's take them one at a time and try to explain what they are.
So general effect music has 2 categories, each worth 10 points each.
Okay.
So the repertoire and effectiveness is worth 10 points, and performance effect is worth 10 points. That falls under the general effect music category.
Okay.
We have 2 judges that both judge that performance, mark their scores, submit their scores, and then we tabulate it at the end.
Okay. For that category.
For that category.
I was going to ask this later, but I'll ask it now. Do the judges confer? Do they compare notes and then come up with their scores, or are they scoring independently, individually?
Absolutely not. Everything is independent of each other. Unfortunately, due to our size restrictions,
the physical setup,
physical setup, they are next to each other, and you will sometimes on our recordings hear them talk over each other, but they each have their own recording devices. They all score their points independently of each other.
And yeah, you touched on something else I was going to ask, so that people know that each of the judges, as we go through all the different judges, they all record comments, which then the bands get access to, after the parade, so that they can get a little more of a sense of the why in terms of the points that they receive.
Exactly, and that's just as important as the points. A number on a piece of paper on a breakdown is one thing, but hearing the judges' comments live is more important at times than a physical score, because you get to hear the judges' initial reaction. We're a little bit different than every other judging competition, Drum Corps International, any drum corps competition, where they see the shows over and over again. In our situation, the judges have one shot, 4.5 minutes, and that's it. So those comments of initial reaction is very critical to growing the parade as an association.
And understanding, for everybody to understand and be able to take notes and learn from and build upon. So one of the other things that I wanted to ask, so they don't confer, they don't compare notes. Now that the judging is completely online and computerized, they can't go back. So once they judge, once they enter their scores, those are the scores.
No, that's not necessarily true. So
that's good to clear up then.
No, absolutely. So in the past, we had, the top 5 bands. We would have a break between the top 5 bands. The judges would have an opportunity.
You mean the first 5?
Marching in
the first 5 marching, yes.
The first 5, the judges would have an opportunity to reevaluate, set the levels, and then judge the parade moving forward. The way it works now is, because we're electronic, the judges enter scores as they go along. However, they also have totes, and they have a document in front of them where they mark their scores as they go along. They can tell, band A and band B. If band C comes in and should be in the middle, and they don't have enough room, they will.
Oh, they can.
They can adjust.
They can adjust.
So the way the process works is the judges put a score in to the electronic system. Nothing is locked in until verified after the parade with a tabulator, an independent tabulator, myself and my co-chair, Larry Hirschman. So Larry Hirschman oversees New Year's Day and the judges and everything on New Year's Day. So after the parade, each judge comes independently to a table such as this with the 3 of us, the tabulator, myself and Larry, and the tabulator will ask the judge, is this score correct? Is this score correct? Is this score correct? Is this score correct? And they'll make adjustments there and changes there and hit submit.
So they can make adjustments even at that point?
At that point. That's
really?
Correct.
Okay. Even I wasn't aware of that.
That's correct.
That they could make adjustments. So,
but again, it's individual.
There's no not
There's no collaboration. There's no discussion.
But they could have scores that they gave for the 1st and 4th and 7th band in line, and once they get to band 13 in line, they could ostensibly go back if they wanted to make an adjustment.
Fit them in.
To make an adjustment.
Correct.
So we did general effect music, which you touched on, the repertoire, which is the actual songs that they're playing. And then what's the next category
So we'll
after
stay
that?
with music. It's music playing.
Music playing.
This is more for the performers. This talks about technique
I was going to say that's the technique.
and musicianship of the performance.
How about the arrangement of the music?
Arrangement is not a category,
Oh.
but it's part of the general effect
The general effect.
music.
Okay,
category.
because you said the repertoire, so that's the songs that they're playing is in the general effect.
Correct.
So there's 2 judges for that.
Correct.
And then there's 2 judges for the actual playing of the music, the
Correct.
technique, the musicianship, the actual quality of what you're hearing.
Exactly.
There's 2 judges for that.
And then each of the subcategories, technique and musicianship, is 10 points each.
Okay.
For a total of 20.
Okay, so that's 4 judges. That's the first 4
That's
judges.
the first 4 judges, correct.
And then what's the next
So
category?
the next category is performance and general effect performance. So general effect, the performance judges, the 2 categories in performance are worth 30 points each.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where the costume gets embedded into the performance, the visual
Okay.
aspect of it.
So there's not a judge singularly judging costume by itself.
Not
it's now
anymore.
incorporated into the overall,
Effect.
the general look of
Performance.
everything.
Correct.
Okay, and where does costume fit into that?
That's 10 points. So under visual performance or general effect visual, we have 3 categories: program effect, which goes through the impact, the resolution, the entertainment factor, the wow factor. Performance effect, which gives the performers a chance to earn some points. And then costume, how costume fits into the design of the presentation and the show.
So the visual impact, the overall visual impact, because now it's not just the costume. So is that where they would also incorporate their evaluation of sets, makeup, props,
Correct.
all the
That
other?
all
So it's a
come back
general effect, and costume is just a piece.
of
Is
that.
just a piece of that.
Correct.
And then how about the actual quality of the dancing, the choreography?
Yep.
Is that
So that's
part
the
of
next
that too?
category.
Oh, that's the next category.
Visual performance.
Oh, visual
So
performance.
visual performance now has 3 captions:
Okay.
composition, accuracy, and technique. And then costume again, cohesiveness, creativity. So that's where the design, where your other,
So there are actually 4 judges that are all judging costume to some extent.
to some extent,
To
correct.
some extent. Okay. And is that 4th category, is costume 10 points of that as well?
So visual performance has 3 categories, all worth 10.
Okay.
Costumes worth 10.
10.
And then you had the general effect.
The general effect costume is also 10.
10 there.
10 of there.
So in theory,
So costumes,
20 points.
There's 20 points there,
Correct.
but it's
It's embedded.
in multiple categories, which
Correct.
is different from the way it used to be. Initially, costume was 40 points by itself. Music was 40 points by itself. Presentation was 20 points by itself.
Correct.
So we're still dealing with 100 points. It's just we're carving up the 100 points in a slightly
Into-
different
into 10
into slightly different ways.
10-point
So that's
increments.
8 judges. So what are the other 2 judges? Or
The other two judges are captain.
captain.
Correct.
So how's the captain judged?
so captains judge pretty much on performance, his costume, show design, and general effect. So 3 categories again.
Okay.
Costume, show design, and general effect, all worth 10 points each. So the captain has a max score of 30 points.
Oh, okay. So we're not dealing with 100
We're
points.
not dealing
for
with 100.
points.
We
It's just
tightened it down.
we've tightened it to 30 points. Okay, so 10 judges. Here's another question that comes up that I get asked all the time. So where do we find the judges? How are the judges selected? That's one question. Are they the same judges every year? Is there a term limit for the judges? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have a pool now of, well, let me backtrack. So when I took over, one of the mandates from the association was to grow our pool of judges and to be able to rotate them a little bit more often and more frequent than we've had in the past. So since then, we've expanded our pool of judges to about 30, 32, 33 maybe, judges that will rotate in and out on a yearly basis.
Oh,
Not necessarily as a whole. So we're not rotating 10 in and 10 out.
Okay.
Every year we'll rotate a handful in
Okay.
and a handful out.
And do they move into different areas? Like if you judged captain one year, could then you be general music effect another year and performance another year?
So captain is kind of the catch-all. Yes.
Okay.
So we can have a music judge move into captain.
Okay.
We can have a performance judge move into captain and switch back and forth at
Okay.
that. What we try to do is select judges that have backgrounds and professional judging of the category that they're in.
Okay.
So the music judges will be music professors.
I was going to ask that. Are they from academia or are they like professional musicians themselves? Could they
Exactly.
could they be in a band?
It could be both. It could
they
be everything.
they could be a songwriter or music writer, arranger, whatever.
And we have Grammy Award winners that are part of our panel. Deans of music in various universities and colleges.
Okay.
So we try to categorize the music and visual based on
Their experience and their background.
Correct.
So from the like costuming, production, visual side, so do we have dancers? Do we have choreographers? Do we have,
No,
do we have
so-
people who have either taught that or have actually done it themselves?
So we take our judges, pool of judges, from professional judges in the drum corps circuit.
Oh,
So all of our judges in one form or another are part of a drum corps circuit and judge professionally at that level. So they're familiar with our requirement. They're familiar with our software package. They're familiar with our recording requirements. So
okay. So there's a technical expertise in actually judging things that's part of the equation. So I know people ask me, are they from Broadway? Are they from like TV? Are they from films? Like what qualifies them to judge this kind of spectacle that we are?
Yeah,
which is different from drum.
No, absolutely.
Which is different from drum corps.
And a lot of our criteria and the development of our criteria and the structure of our criteria is from a drum corps judging platform.
Okay.
So, everything's in 10-point increments. That's what they're used to judging. They're used to judging in 10-point increments with variables. 0.1 to 0.3 is this, 0.3 to 0.6 is, this level of performance. So that's what they're used to. That's how I inherited basically, is the structure of our judging is based loosely on the drum corps judging criteria.
Okay. So we touched on this and said we come back to it. So here we are. It's the evening of January 1st, 2025. You've already done this for a couple of years. Should be like rolling off a log at that point. You enter into the hotel room space where this is now all going to come to pass, and tell us what happens next.
So, it was a long night. It was a long day. It was a long night. Unfortunate on one end, but, the tie was a situation where.
So were the disqualifications addressed first or the tie?
So the disqualifications were addressed by a different committee.
Okay.
So the theme committee addressed the disqualifications. However, it ultimately affects me because I need to know how to rank the bands.
Right.
And
the judges have no awareness or knowledge
No.
or don't need to
Absolutely not.
about that there were, so they judged like completely absent from any knowledge of that there was the potential for these disqualifications.
Yeah, Larry and I, New Year's Day, I manage the street more than the judges. The platform is small. Larry has that experience. So Larry and I have communications back and forth during the day, and we go out of our way to assure that the judges aren't aware of the politics of the association. They are hired for that day to judge 14 string bands. The politics of the organization should not affect them with their judging. So
Right.
Larry and I isolate them from that aspect of
Okay.
it. Even to the point of New Year's night 2025, they are in a separate room. They are in a conference room. Myself, Larry, and the tabulator are in a second conference room, and the disqualification hearing was in a third conference room. So that was
So the judges had judged, and they had no knowledge that
No
two
concept.
bands were going to be disqualified. They would learn about it when everybody else
they
in
learned.
the news, when everybody else learns about
Well,
it.
that and that's part of the story, right? Is that so? Parade's over. The judges as a group, I wrap everything up with the parade. Larry and I escort the judges back to the conference room, and the tabulator sits down with her laptop, and we call each judge in one at a time
To verify.
to verify. And we do that away from everybody else. So this way, there's no one can overhear, a judge say, well, no, this should be this point and this should be this point. We keep it separate. So we go into a separate conference room. Each judge comes individually to the panel. The tabulator runs through the points, verifies, they make any adjustments, any decisions, and we get to the end. Question, are you verifying your points? Verified. She hits submit. At that point, the scores are locked
Okay.
for that individual judge.
Right. And then you do that 10 times.
We do that 10 times. So it's not until, so I have the ability to see the points live. I choose not to. Choose not to, just to understand. And to be honest with you, I'm a mummer at heart. I'm a string band guy at heart. I like that surprise at the end too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just as I'm still a mummer.
You're
at heart.
just as excited to find out
Exactly.
what's the,
Right.
who's going to win.
I'm fortunate to be sitting in front of the judges and watching, and I take mental note of who I like, and
So now all of a sudden she hits that final tabulation, and is she the one who tells?
No, so that's the story is, that we get the 10th judge comes in and hits it, and now Larry went back with the judges. Larry does a 15-minute, 20-minute roundup
Okay.
recording of just general conversation.
General conversation.
So Larry's not even aware of what's going on at this point. So myself and the tabulator were there, and I said, all right, let me see what's going on. So all I see is, 1 to 14 and names, Quaker City, South Philly, and so on. It does it by alphabetical order, right? So I'm like, okay, scroll over. So she scrolls over to the points, and it's a dead tie.
Probably most of the color, if not all the color,
I just-
ran out of your face.
Knowing the rules very well, I've been as presentation and theme chairman of Ferko for years. You get to know the rules. And you know what rules there are, and there's no rule for a tiebreaker.
For first place.
For-
because
anywhere.
Well, we've had many ties through the years.
Correct.
For every other place you can imagine, but never a tie for first place.
So, if you don't mind, I can talk to that, right? So, in 2022, we went to an electronic system, electronic scoring system, where numbers are put in, numbers are verified, numbers are locked. Prior to that, everything was done by handwritten notes.
Yes.
So, and behind closed doors. So, yes, we went 125 years without a tie, but nobody knows what happened behind closed doors to break a tie, if there was a tie. And, I'm not implying anything, but my point is, we don't know.
And we'll never know.
And we'll never
And
know.
we'll never know.
And we'll never know. Those errors are gone. Now with the electronic system, everything's above board, and the numbers are the way they
They are
rolled
what
out.
they are. So then this happens, and the news has to be, broken to, you have to now,
Well, so
you have to advise.
I didn't. Yeah. So first thing I did was bring Larry in. I interrupted his if
His debrief.
his debrief. You could hear me in the background saying, "Larry, no." He was wrapping up. I said, "No, hold on." So I called him over, and he and I in the tabulator went through line by line, seeing if there was any odd numbers, any odd scores, or anything, and everything was right in line. So we asked the judges to hold back because I didn't know what the process was. I didn't know how we were going to handle this. I didn't know what we were going to do. So I immediately went into the disqualification hearings and asked Sam to come out, our president, to come out, and I purposely did not say the names of the organizations due to Sam's affiliation with one of them. So I called Sam out and I said, "Sam, we have a tie for first place." And he looked at me, he's like, "You got to be kidding me." And I said, "We don't. I'm not kidding. We have a tie, dead heat." And Larry was there with me, and Larry asked Sam, "What's the rule to break a tie?" And Sam said,
There isn't
"There isn't one." So what do we do? And Larry said, and I said, "Tie is a tie." And we'll have
And the
to-
rest, as they say,
is history.
And it is history.
It is,
Well,
yes.
it was historic. It was a historic,
Absolutely.
dare we say, a very overused word, unprecedented, an unprecedented occurrence. And I know, like, since then, since that time, there have been conversations about the potential to insert, some rule or some change or whatever. And as we stand, at this point, it could happen again.
Absolutely.
There's the possibility that could happen again.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way it's set up. And
So, in looking at the competition, since I took over, I did an analogy, and analyzed the numbers. And the parade is getting tighter and tighter every year. The point difference from 1st to 14th is just shrinking. The talent is getting better. The performances are getting better. The shows are getting better. And, we had two outstanding organizations that put two outstanding shows on.
two first prize winning,
Worthy winning? Absolutely.
performances.
Performance.
Yeah. I mean, it was, obviously it generated, let's just say, generated a great deal of conversation.
To this day, my friends are still,
yeah,
making sure that I remember that I was behind a tie. But
I mean, anything that's never happened, when anything happens for the first time, and after 125 years, that's, 124 years, because this will be the 125th
Correct.
coming up in 2026. But it's so important, I think, for everyone who is interested in this and everyone who loves this to have an understanding that this happened. It's, the way it was. The scoring is very complex. We have now score percentages, in the, decimal points of
Correct.
of tightness, because the competition is so fierce. Because there's such, I think, not just the competitiveness, but the quality. The quality has accelerated across the board. I mean, all the bands have upped their game.
Absolutely.
And it stands to reason that if that's going to be the case, and we have fewer bands than we used to have, that the like you said, the spread between 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 14th band continues to tighten up.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's a good thing for our organization. You know, the bands work year round. I don't miss that aspect of it. But the bands work year round for one opportunity to compete on New Year's Day. But you can't miss that we're one family outside of 4.5 minutes on New Year's Day.
no,
You know, the partnership, the friendship, helping each other on, you know, parades throughout the year.
it's a community.
That's what it's about.
I mean, it is a community. It's a family. So I will ask. So after this is over and the news gets out and whatever, so the judges didn't know that they had chosen 2 bands as the first prize winner. So what did you hear from them after the fact?
So, you know, Larry and I have started a tradition to go in and announce the first prize band to the judges.
Before they
it's released,
leave.
before they leave.
Yeah.
So, you know, Larry and I went back in and basically said, unprecedented in this environment, in this situation. We have a tie for first place. And honestly, each judge to a man, woman, agreed with the decision.
Really?
They absolutely said these 2 organizations were unbelievable in their design, unbelievable in their execution, and they both deserved it.
And they both deserved it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as we said, and that, as they say, is history.
So it's funny because, you know, Larry works as a professional judge in the drum corps circuit.
Okay.
And he said it happens often. And ironically enough, I guess it was a competition maybe a month later or so, I get a text message. There was a tie for first and a tie for last in the drum corps.
In the drum corps.
Which was our scenario, exactly what our scenario was. So
yeah, I mean,
it does happen.
It does happen, and the chances are, maybe not for first, but chances are there will be other ties because the competition has gotten so tight.
Correct.
And so fierce, and it's a smaller number of groups. Thank you, Lou, so much, because I think this is something that I know we get a lot of questions about, for people to, you know, have a better understanding, as you walk through so well, you know, what the categories are, how many points are within each category, how many judges there are. So I think people now have a better sense of that. And of course, there were lots of questions about the tie. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, you know, and what it was like in real time, as that was taking place. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For String Band Sessions podcast. So that was our special episode on the judging of the string bands.